Can you talk about ways that the foundation can find some balance between supporting innovation and experimentation without coming up with radical ideas that could scare away the family members and other board members?
Yeah, so I work with one client that has a sort of like a 4-stage approach to the way that they do their philanthropy. And at the very small level, they run lots of small, almost experiments, sort of $40,000, $50,000, $80,000 grants and sometimes loans to overseas community-based organizations. And they're deliberately looking at, if you like, massive funnel at the top of the funnel for great innovative ideas. And maybe you'll only find 1 out of 10 that you really want to actually continue to fund. So the next stage is, okay, you find that 1 out of 10, and you start to actually see whether you can actually make this, reputable and build it a little bit, and does it actually work in other places? And then at that point, you can go on to the third stage, which is sort of scale it up to, this particular client, it's anything like, $500,000 upwards per year of granting of multiple organizations. And then the fourth stage comes back to the collaboration conversation with Massey, which is starting to say, okay, so we're so pleased about this thing that we've created, we're really excited about it. Let's actually get other people to come on board with this, and we can do so much more. We'll leverage all that effort that's gone in terms of that research and innovation process. So I do think if you sort of stayed around and sort of didn't go back to the yacht at the moment, you would actually find that there was some really cool things that the foundation could actually start to do, and without actually risking too much of some people that might be a little bit financially more prudent over there.
I've heard you talk about successful failing. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's really interesting. We kind of like live in two worlds. So the world of philanthropy really isn't very tolerant to the whole idea of failure. In actual fact, it's probably the F word that you're not allowed to use. And yet, across the continent, we've got Silicon Valley where to fail is a badge of honor, as being good tech entrepreneurs. And you ask the question, well, why is that? Because we're all intelligent people here, and we know full well that you go into difficult areas and try and do social change, we're going to have a lot of projects that are not going to be as successful as we hope they would be. But we kind of like put blinkers on that, and we've created a whole sort of philanthropic marketplace that deliberately doesn't really want to hear the unsuccessful stories. So we have donors that are fighting shy of funding organizations that are being honest about lack of success, and we have lots of organizations that are the recipient of funds who essentially feel like they can't talk publicly about the things that aren't working. And as a result, the field itself suffers because we're not able to actually get all those stories out of what isn't working so that we can focus on what is working, so that we can't do the Silicon Valley thing of failing fast, stopping those things, pivoting and moving on something else. So I think you've got a real issue that I really agree with there, and I think that we would all do far better if we as a ecosystem would start to encourage the idea that we can be realistic about failure and lack of success, celebrate what does work, stop what doesn't work quickly, potentially, encourage some non-profits that are not being at all helpful to close, and really focus on the things that do work.